Hey guys! Not too long ago I did a video on different filming mistakes and errors in season 1 of Charmed, and I said in that video if you guys liked it I would be happy to do more in the future, and you guys did. So we're back today covering the mistakes in season 2 of the series. But before we get into those, I would just like to mention that I actually forgot one in season 1, and I don't know how because it drives me crazy every time I watch the episode. It's the one in From Fear to Eternity where Phoebe and Prue write their names on the mailing list, but you can see that the writing didn't appear, but in a later shot it is there. Again, I don't know how I forgot that one. So with that being said, how about we just jump right into it, starting with the first episode of season 2, Witch Trial. In the beginning of the episode, Piper freezes Rob with his mouth open, but in the wide shots you can see that his mouth is closed. And in this scene, you can see a crew member crawling in the bottom left corner of the screen, and you can hear his boots hitting the floor in the audio for the episode. So I have no idea how I never noticed this before, but now I can't unsee it.
Rite of passage.
Rite of passage.
And then in the scene where the Book of Shadows falls out of the portal after being summoned by the sisters, you can see that it's not actually the Book of Shadows at all, but rather a brown prop made to resemble it. I also noticed that when Abraxas is being vanquished, that the audio does not sync up with the girls' mouths. Morality bites. In this scene, Prue is carrying her shoes in her hand, but in the very next shot, her shoes are back on her feet. And then later on in the same scene, not only is the door smaller than when Piper drew it, since she reached up over her head, and now she and Prue both have to duck to get inside, but you can also see on the left that Piper's shadow got cut off by the special effect. The Painted World. In the scene where Piper's writing Nell's name on the window, in the close-up shots that focus on the blades, the writing on the window disappears. The Devil's Music. In the scenes where Prue is talking to Barker about the loan and then talks with Phoebe in the kitchen, she's wearing a choker necklace. But when she and Phoebe walk out of the kitchen to join Piper and Leo, the necklace is gone. Then when Leo orbs out, it's back again. And in this same scene, Piper comes home and runs into the kitchen to find Prue and Phoebe, but the time between when she comes in the front door and arrives in the kitchen is like 2 seconds, which should not have been possible given the manor's layout.
Guess what I did? Guess what I did? All about myself. What?
Piper would have had to come in the front door, run through the hall into the dining room, and then turn left to run into the kitchen, and just no way would that have all happened in 2 seconds.
Guess what I did? Guess what I did? All about myself. What?
And also, how did she know they were in the kitchen in the first place? She just got home, and it's a large manor with 3 stories plus a basement and a backyard. They could literally be anywhere in the house, and Prue and Phoebe were not talking loud enough to give away their positions, and you can't see into the kitchen when you enter the front door, so really, how did she know where they were? She's a man, baby, a man. In the beginning of the episode, Phoebe is using a cloth to cool down, but every time the shot changes, so does the position of the cloth. In one shot, Phoebe is wiping off her shoulder, then in the next she's wiping off her hand, then it's back to her shoulders again in the next, and back on her hands in the one after that. That old black magic. When the lady at the auction gives Jack her address, the paper is folded in half and Jack just kinda stuffs it into his pocket. But when Prue telekinetically steals it, it's not only not crumpled at all like it would be if someone shoved it into their pocket, but it's now been folded twice instead of just once. They're everywhere. When the sisters go to the hospital to save Eric's dad, Prue telekinetically tosses the warlocks across the room, with one hitting the chair and moving it slightly. But in the next shot, the chair is now directly in front of the door, and in the next, it's facing the complete opposite direction. B3H2O. When Prue leaves Buckland's to meet her sisters at the camp, she's wearing a red halter top. She said she was heading to meet them, so it doesn't sound like she planned on stopping by the house, but when she arrives at the lake in Piper's car, she is now wearing a white crop tank top instead. And this is one of the few mistakes I actually noticed back when I first watched the episode. I had completely forgotten about it until I saw it listed on the wiki page again, but when Prue and Phoebe drive up to the lake in Prue's car, you can see the reflection of the crew and their equipment on the car door. Then when Piper and Phoebe see the water demon appear behind Prue, they run out onto the dock to warn her. In that scene, you can see that Piper reached the dock first, but when she turns to freeze Leo, Phoebe is now ahead of her on the dock. And when the water demon is vanquished, Prue's hair is completely dry, but in the next shot, her hair is wet and it alternates between wet and dry throughout the scene. Miss Hellfire. When Miss Hellfire breaks into the manor in the beginning, she fires 4 bullets at the sisters, which Prue telekinetically sends flying back at her. But in the next shot, there are only 3 bullets that return. Also, the yellow cereal bowl is shown exploding twice. And in the scene where Brain grabs Prue's arm, he initially grabs her with his right hand, but in the next shot he's holding her with his left, and then after that he's using his right again. Then Piper freezes Marcy while she's running around attempting to cast a protection spell, but when Marcy unfreezes, not only are her arms in different positions, but she's also closer to the couch. Oh wow, is that a Gyllenhaal? Carlo Castronovo. You have to admit they kinda do look alike though. Anyway, Heartbreak City. When Phoebe leaves the bathroom in the morning, the door is wide open and it's shown that she's the only one home, but when she walks back by the door is almost completely closed. And when everyone is at P3, in one shot Dan is holding a beer, but in the next he's not even touching it at all. And then a few moments later, when Piper and Prue are waiting to use the bathroom, Piper is playing with her necklace for most of the scene, but in one shot she eventually rests her arm behind her back, but in the other shot she's still playing with the necklace, and the shots keep jumping back and forth between the two. Then when Piper freezes Drazi towards the end, his mouth is closed, but in the next shots his mouth is open, even though he's technically frozen. I think what happened there was that during the initial freeze they paused the scene after he'd finished his line, but in the other they paused while he was still finishing the line, so yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happened there. Reckless abandon. In the scene where Piper and Prue are trying to change Matthew, there's a shot where Matthew is out of the frame and all you can see is his foot. But you can see that it's actually the foot of a doll since it's off color, very shiny, and doesn't move the way a real baby's foot would. Awakened. After the girls cast the awakening spell to heal Piper, they're all at P3 and Phoebe notices that Piper begins cleaning at warp speed, which is a consequence of the spell. But you can see that it's just the same few seconds of footage being repeated over and over since Piper keeps doing the same things, like cleaning the glasses on repeat, and that it's not just Piper that's been sped up in the scene since the flickering lights are matching Piper's speed as well. Animal pragmatism. When Prue looks at the vase on the mantle, it's sitting to the left of the screen, but when she telekinetically moves it, it's now on the right and she moves it left. And when Dan brings Piper flowers at P3, she hugs him, but in one set of shots she's hugging him around the neck, and in the other her arms are around his back. Then when the group breaks into the manor, you can tell that what they break is not real glass but some sort of screen, since you see the entire thing float down after they open the door and the frame now appears empty. And not only that, but they also left the door open when they went inside, and it alternates between open and closed in different shots. And not only that, but later on when Prue sees the door, not only is the glass back in the frame, but it's also broken in a different spot. Which, how did no one notice that coming into the house? That would have been the first thing anyone noticed when they walked up to the front door. But anyway, in the next scene when the snake bites the girls, the area of his neck that had peeled off to expose the snake skin in the previous scene has now disappeared. And then later on in the episode when Phoebe finds the body of the pig, you can see that he has normal human hands, even though his left hand had turned back into a hoof earlier in the episode. And finally, at the very end of the episode when Piper finds the card that Leo left and he reads it in voiceover, towards the end of the card you can see that it's written, "Who fell in love with you for who you are, not who I think you are." The voiceover skips the line where it says, "Not who I think you are."
The same guy who fell in love with you for who you are. Remember that.
Pardon my past. When Leo starts unloading glasses at P3, he's holding a glass in one shot, but the next moment his hands are completely empty. The wiki also said that Bowen apparently changed her shoes while looking for Russell, but maybe I just missed it because every scene I could find that showed her feet, she was wearing the same shoes. Give me a sign. When Piper and Phoebe are talking to Daryl as he leaves the manor, in the shots from the front, Phoebe's hands are crossed in front of her, but in the scenes from the back, her hands are resting against her sides. Murphy's Luck. When Phoebe and Prue go to see Maggie at the hospital, when they walk through the doors, Prue is on the left and Phoebe is on the right, but in the next shot, they're in the opposite positions. Then when Prue is up on the bridge with the dark lighter, you can clearly see Los Angeles in the background, even though the show is set in San Francisco. And at the very end of the episode, Prue puts her picture of the bridge in the fireplace, and in the initial shot, it's face down in the fire, but in the next shot, it's now face up. How to make a quilt out of Americans. After the sisters and Gail look in the Book of Shadows in the attic, the girls go to the bottom of the attic stairway to talk about what to do, and Gail meets them at the bottom on her way out. But when she goes to leave, she's barely off screen a moment when you hear the front door open and close, which should not have been possible since they were still on the second story. And when Gail and her friends tricked the sisters into drinking the potion they slipped into the iced tea, Amanda fills up Piper and Phoebe's glasses, but in the next shot, Phoebe's is almost gone and Piper's is back at the same level it was before it was filled. Then when the girls go back to Aunt Gail's house after having their powers stripped, Phoebe is ahead of her sisters on the stairs, but when the shot changes, Prue is the one who reaches the front door first, when logically it would have been Phoebe. Chick flick. When Piper freezes the restaurant, you can see the man behind her blinking throughout the scene, and also when Dan's date picks up her glass to take a drink, she appears to be drinking water, but when the scene cuts back to them, she now has a dark drink instead. I hope it's Dr. Pepper. I don't know anyone else in real life who likes Dr. Pepper, but I love it. And in the scene where the axe murderer attacks Prue in the basement, she runs behind a brick pillar to get to the stairs, but if you watch slowly, you can see that Shannon's elbow is still visible behind the pillar on the left as her stunt double continues to run for the stairs on the right. And then when the axe murderer is electrocuted, his hat flies off in the wide shot, but in the close-up, he's still wearing it. Ex Libris. I hope that's how you say that. When Prue goes into the pawn shop, it's broad daylight outside, but when she goes to leave, night has started to fall. And when she's back outside, it's daylight again. Astral Monkey. In the scene where Dr. Williamson freezes Dr. Jeffries, you can see Dr. Jeffries moving despite being frozen. And when Piper looks at the list of jail patients they printed at the hospital, the information is slightly different despite being the same piece of paper. It originally listed the doctor as Dr. Williamson, and now it says Dr. C. Williamson. Apocalypse Not. In the beginning of the episode, Phoebe pours tea for all three sisters, but before she's finished filling the third glass, the shot changes, and from the way she's moving her hands, you can tell that she is no longer holding the pitcher, and you don't hear her set it down. Then when Phoebe and Piper meet with the horsemen at the manor, in the initial shot they pull out more than enough stems to recreate the pentagram, but in the next shot they are holding just enough to create the pentagram and the other stems disappear. Be careful what you wish for. In the scene where Phoebe volunteers to fly the dragon out of the manor and dump him somewhere, there's a vase of flowers on the table between her and him, but when Phoebe flies over the table to grab him, the vase is now gone. Also, how is this not a major exposure issue? Phoebe literally flew him all the way out of San Francisco, which is a major city. If people saw a flying blue Ford over London...
You were seen by no less than 7 muggles. Do you have any idea how serious this is?
Then someone must have seen her, so... Anyway, when Piper and Leo track down the genie, she freezes everyone at the restaurant so they can talk to him, but even though they're supposed to be frozen, you can see a couple people change position in between shots. And then, at the very end of the episode, when Prue closes the door, you can tell that it's the interior of the real manor, in his house, instead of the charmed manor, which should have had a view similar to this, given the layout. And those are all of the mistakes from season 2 that, well, at least the ones that I noticed and that were listed on the Wikia page, which again, huge credit and thank you to whoever added those to the page so that everyone could see them. It's really, really appreciated. I don't think I would have noticed half that stuff. I mostly just compiled them and added the ones I noticed plus my own thoughts, so, you know, it's really fun. So again, huge thank you to them and a huge thank you to you guys for watching these. I'm glad that you guys seem to like them, and at this point, I'm pretty sure we're going to end up doing all 8 seasons, probably 1 season per month. So, you know, 1 week a month we'll take a look at the filming mistakes in Charmed. And once those are done, I hear there's some for Buffy, so that would be fun. But yeah, that's the end of this one. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Bye!